Hey everyone, welcome back here to Paris. We're live at KubeCon. It's getting late in the day. It's after 4:30 Paris time. For those of you on the West Coast of the US, you're just getting up, enjoy your day. I'm really happy to have my next guest on here with us. It's kind of a reverse. He's usually on this side of the house, so I don't know. We don't know how well it's gonna, is this gonna break him or what? I want to introduce you to Stephen Dickens. Stephen is an analyst with a company called the Futurum Group. We've never featured any Futurum folks on our broadcast before, so we're delighted to have you on, Stephen. Actually, we should start right off. For people who may not be familiar with Futurum Group or Futurum, where would they go?
So the futurumgroup.com is where we go. I'm feeling underdressed, man.
Well,
I didn't get the memo.
This one didn't have any sequins or anything, so you're okay. But Stephen, well, let's first, before we talk about Futurum, let's talk about Stephen.
Yeah, so
give us
great to be on the show. Thank you for having me. As I say, it's weird. It's normally me looking down the camera doing the intro. I'll do this piece. So, and they normally sit me on the right on our show, so I'm comfortable. But now,
well, this way it hides the mics.
Yeah. So Stephen Dickens, despite this English accent, live in New York. Spent the last, well, what is it now? 29 years in the tech industry, working for Broadcom. Well, what was CA?
Sure.
Worked for Xerox straight out of college, Broadcom, HPE, most latterly before joining the Futurum Group as a product manager and various other roles at IBM.
And IBM. There's always a little IBM in there.
10 years at IBM.
Yeah, no, you find that. I've been in the tech industry also 30-something years. There's always a little IBM touch in there.
There's I mean, that business is exploding. Arvind's doing a great job at that company.
They really have.
You know what? They're back, I feel.
Well, for the first time, you can ask an IBMer and say, what are you guys doing with the cloud? And they actually have a coherent answer.
They do.
Compared to what they've had, let's say, the last 5 years.
I think they've got two clear messages. It's hybrid cloud.
Yes.
And it's AI.
And
the whole company's rallying around those two things. When you talk to them as an analyst, it's really clear what they do and why they do it. It's hybrid cloud and it's AI.
Agreed. And you would think, I mean, with Watson, right? We were all, for many of us, I think, Watson was probably our first exposure to AI. Though I don't know if we called it AI, but it was Watson.
Well, I mean, they've been
doing it for a long
time. In this game, they've been beating Kasparov at chess, and they did Jeopardy. So they brought natural language to that with Jeopardy, and now with Watson X, they're doing a great job. I think my conversations with a lot of the vendors is there's lots of cool people out there. There's lots of people that are coming up with cool technology. From the IBM perspective, they're trusted. If you want to do indemnification of a model because you want to put it into production and you don't want a New York Times,
you don't want to be the headline,
OpenAI kind of lawsuit situation, that's the key piece of their story for me. Indemnification. They got the tools, they got the stack, they've got all the capability. But for me, the key takeaway is indemnification.
Yeah, well, for the AI piece of it, for sure. Back in the .com days, I helped take a company public. We were the second largest to IBM Lotus Notes hosts.
Back in the day. I've used Lotus Notes for 10 years. Well,
it was a great
IBM's even off it now.
Newsfeed was better than Exchange. It's still better than Exchanges today, but I'm not here bashing anyone. Yeah, we digress. But the thing about when we went into enterprises to host notes, and this is before there's a cloud, multi-tenancy, none of this. But the fact that you had Big Blue behind you.
They're trusted.
Absolutely.
I mean,
and there was an IBM rep at every one of the companies we went into.
They're saying nobody gets fired for IBM. I think that was obviously the industry.
That was very true.
I think they've drifted away from that maybe, but I think that's back.
Yeah.
I think that's back.
I don't disagree at all. So a great background for someone who wants to be an analyst and tremendous, household names in tech.
Yeah.
What is there a specific specialty you're covering in the group?
We've structured our research and advisory business along what we call practices. That's pretty much a vertical stack by technology. I cover what we call hybrid cloud infrastructure and ops. That's everything from a public cloud IaaS, so working with the Google guys, AWS, Microsoft, OCI, IBM Cloud, working with those guys, right through to I cover the mainframe from a technology.
Do you?
Yeah, I'm that.
So that's near and dear to my heart, though, too.
It's dear to a lot of people's hearts. And then it's all the supporting ops, so observability from an operations. You know, we got another guy who covers day 0, day 1, day 2. I'd like to say I'm day 300.
Your second week.
Second week. It's stable, it's steady, it's monitoring, it's log monitoring. I describe my practice as the bits that keep the lights running.
Absolutely. Very
I don't
cool.
get any of the sexy stuff.
Well, you know what? But sexy always doesn't win the race.
So it's hilarious. I get involved in a lot of the conversations around availability, performance, scalability, architecting for security, all those types of conversations. And that's fascinating to me. I geek out on that stuff.
Look, we all do.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, to be in this business as long as we've been in this business, if you don't geek out on it, it's got to be, that's work.
Well, I mean, I think for me, the bit, and why I'm enjoying almost 3 years now at Future, employee number 4, why I'm enjoying it, it feeds my inner nerd. I get to geek out, be intellectually curious. I get downtime at an event like this, and I'm like, can I go get a demo? Can I learn?
Absolutely.
Which is, you would think I'd want to sit in a corner after this event, but I'm keen to learn.
You know what? I think there's a little bit of that in all of us, and that's why we're here. And actually, that's a great segue. Why we're here?
KubeCon, right?
Yeah, it is.
We didn't just come on our holidays to Paris.
No, next week is my Paris holiday.
Enjoy.
I'm staying.
Enjoy.
Actually, my wife's probably getting on a plane right about now in Florida, flying
your
to
fun
JFK.
stops, and then your fun with your wife starts.
We're live on TV, so I'm going to say yes.
in case she's watching, right? In case she's watching.
Exactly.
He said it. I was here.
That took me off track. But
KubeCon.
Yeah, KubeCon. So, I've been coming to KubeCon a long time.
Yep.
DockerCon and KubeCon. And look, this to me, well, not just to me, it's the biggest KubeCon they've had so far.
I think I've heard 13,000.
13,000. I just interviewed Arun Gupta about 45 minutes ago. He's the chairman of CNCF.
Yeah.
And he said he thinks they're just under 13,000, 12,000 plus, just under 13.
They had the biggest one in Amsterdam a year ago, and now they're beating that again.
Well, I was talking to Arun about this. I don't know, did you go to the one in San Diego?
So I've done Seattle, that was 2015.
Right.
I launched a product there, so I had a bunch of fun. Then I've done probably the last 4.
Okay. Seattle was the last one before COVID.
Yeah.
And it was not as big as this. I think it was 10,000 people. But it had this buzz, this energy.
And we're back.
It took us this long to recover from COVID. But we're back. Because if you look around, and you can see at home, the next booth is right here, and they're 2 at a time, all the way down, and it's a huge floor.
There's probably 100 vendors here, I think.
I think there's more. I think Arun said something. No, there's 180 projects in CNCF. Yeah.
And I'd say 100 vendor booths. At least
there's 100 booths, but then you've got the projects each have a booth.
Yeah.
And, all the various communities have a booth.
Yeah.
So this place, it's huge.
The CNCF events team do a great job.
With a relatively small amount of people and volunteers for the most part.
A lot of it.
Really? Heads off to them. So, look, AI's the story of the year. I'm sure we're hearing a lot of...
We went a good 10 minutes without mentioning
I tried.
You did a good job.
Well, and let me keep that in the same vein. Besides AI, what else are you hearing from your contacts and your interviews?
I'm almost coining the term, and I'm coining it here on live TV.
Okay.
Jacket to hoodie ratio.
Okay.
The sports coat, I'm going to coin this and I'm going to track it. It's the sport coat to hoodie ratio. Let me explain what I mean. If you've been tracking Kubernetes over the last 10 years, it's a
hoodie crowd.
It's a hoodie crowd. It's tinkerers. It's how do we get this stood up? How do we get something quick into production? Hey, I want to play. I think that was probably the first 5 or 6 years of the last 10. I look at it now, and as I say, the jacket.
It's a lot more jackets.
The sports coat. I think the companies that are on the stages doing the sessions, it's big household names. I had the chance to interview Domino's around what they're doing with Solo and Service Mesh. You know, complete re-architecting of a monolithic application to Kubernetes and cloud native. So I think for me, the grown-ups are in the room.
No doubt.
Camberley Bates and I have been tracking that dynamic over probably the last 3 KubeCons. It feels like platform engineering's kind of kicking in. We're starting to see this in production. Guys like me, availability, performance, security, scalability, all those ilities are now starting to come. Cost optimization, you know.
It's getting real. This is part of the maturation of the whole thing.
Platform engineering is a good thing for this community to get
It's
real.
not the death knell of DevOps or cloud native or anything.
Not.
It's, first of all, I've got a confession to make. Okay. Had I known you were going to bring this up, in my hotel room, I actually brought a sports jacket, a blazer, and a cashmere sweater.
You can't hide that skirt.
No.
You can't hide that
today
skirt.
was this, but tomorrow I have a Brooks Brothers blue and white pinstripe with a blue blazer and a blue cashmere sweater.
So maybe the jacket to hoodie ratio.
I'm single-handedly going to raise that ratio, but you're right. It's part of this maturation. You know, we're doing a research report. Mitchell Ashley, our Techstrong research principal, we call it DevOps Next, because I think when you look at DevOps and cloud native today, it's no longer, as you call them, tinkerers that are cobbling together a couple of open source tools and some command line interfaces and, you know, trying to make a go of it.
It's production workloads
at an enterprise level.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm hearing words like opinionated, curated, managed when I'm chatting to some of the vendors. That's because this community is moving past the point of I want to hand stitch this together. Yeah. I'm hearing the transition from pets to cattle.
Right, yeah.
You know, I'm hearing all these phrases.
No, we probably have heard before, by the way, right? This is a normal cycle. I back to COVID, I think COVID might have, you know, delayed it, if you will. Yeah. But this is the normal maturation cycle that we see in technology.
I mean, I talked about pets versus cattle. Looking after your Kubernetes clusters and being sort of so hands-on and having to hand-tend everything about them, or having so many of them that you can't.
They're ephemeral.
And you've just got to roll them out. You've got to have automation and tooling and management. I think that transition from pets to cattle has happened.
Yeah. So I remember, he's at Acorn now, but he was the guy who founded Rancher, Shangling.
Yeah.
He was the one that was the whole thing behind Rancher, right? It was cattle, not pets.
Yeah.
But
I think we've got there around the room. The SUSE guys with Rancher.
With Rancher, yeah.
They've announced their sort of 3.0 of Rancher Prime.
Yeah.
I think the fact it's 3.0, OpenShift's on 4.15.
Yeah.
We're now at the point where this is not new.
No.
Those are mature products and mature solutions.
It's not bleeding edge. It's great to be on the bleeding edge. Don't get me wrong.
Absolutely.
But enterprises don't love bleeding edge.
No.
And I think that's a huge.
You've got to
thing
run
here.
the bank or run the telco or run the retailer. You want to know it works.
It's funny. I was at lunch on the street out here. I listened to 2 kids. They were kids. They were probably in their 30s, but they're kids.
You can claim them as kids.
Yeah.
I've got a 20-year-old daughter. How did that happen?
Me too. I have 24 and 22. But these were 2 young salespeople at one of the open core providers here. And I was listening to them talk about the difference in selling to the enterprise now versus when they first started with the company 2 or 3 years ago. And it was just this point. Selling to the enterprise, you can't be fly-by-night, you can't be seat of your pants.
Solid, dependable. And this is where the likes of the IBMs, with what they're doing with Red Hat, SUSE, some of these more established players who've been in this game, they're the anchor points of this room. You know, what AWS are doing, what Google are doing, what Oracle
is doing, yeah.
Those anchor points, the traditional enterprise players, there's still going to be anchor points, I think, going forward.
Absolutely. Well, again, if it follows, and there's no reason it won't, if it follows our normal kind of maturation process, you will see some of those anchor points kind of swallowing up.
We've seen it already with Cisco and iSurveillance.
Yeah.
You know, my hypothesis is that it may be not good for the CNCF events team, but there'll be 30% less vendors here within 3 years because there'll be concentration.
So I asked Arun Gupta about that.
Okay.
He said, look, we have 180 projects right now. Most of those projects have companies attached to them. In 3 years, do I have 300, 500, 1,000 projects? The CNCF motto is let every flower bloom.
Yeah.
Now, my comeback was, when is enough enough? When is enough? When is too much?
Project fatigue.
Right? How do you support all of them?
I mean, for me, that's almost counter to this management, curation, opinionated movement that I'm seeing. Are we at too many?
Sprawl. Project sprawl.
Yeah, I've got to deploy, I've got to manage all that. People are coming and saying, abstract that away from me. I want consistency, I want it pulled together. Bring me an opinionated view based on open source.
Right, yeah, I know.
I don't want you to give me
we're
closed
not
source.
Killing open source.
We don't want you to come up with, you know, the management stacks of 20 years ago, which is homegrown. I want it based on open source. But I don't want to be thinking about 180 different projects. I want you to bring me the 10 packages I need and give me a stack and a platform.
You know, when I speak to enterprise customers, one of the things I still hear from them is Kubernetes is still too hard. It's hard.
I think we're on the cusp of that not being the case. I don't think we're there.
I hope so.
I don't think we're there, but my conversations with AWS, my conversations with Google, Microsoft, Red Hat, SUSE, all of those guys, it's starting to get to the point where opinionated, curated, managed stacks are coming together and people are starting to go, I've picked my winner,
Horses, and I'm riding
and
it.
Now I'm going to ride it.
Right, you make my bets.
I think we're at that point.
Yeah, I mean, and again, that goes right with this DevOps Next kind of research we're doing in that we're moving from those cobbled points into platforms
Exactly.
that work seamlessly.
Exactly.
And that's what the market wants. That's what the market wants.
I think so.
They don't want
There's
necessarily
always going to be
180.
that startup that wants to tinker and they're a software company and they want to build it themselves and they got a 2-pizza team that can figure it out.
They're actually using the pure open source and making their own modifications to it.
There's always going to be those guys, but I think if you're a bank, a telco, a retailer, a government department, you want no part of that.
No way. Well, goes back to what we said about IBM and AI, right?
Trusted.
And indemnification and everything else.
When it goes bump in the middle of the night, you want one
throat
person
to choke or one butt to kick.
Or one person to praise.
To answer. Right?
You want somebody at the end of the phone who's going to go, it broke. I need you to help me fix it.
And I'm here. Yep. Let's talk a little bit about AI though, because we purposely shunned it, but let's come back.
We've done well to only bring it up once previously.
That's why.
20 minutes?
We've got to be 20 minutes in, yeah. So what about AI here?
So I think this crowd, obviously a lot of AI workloads are going to get deployed in the next 18 months. Mm-hmm. So they're going to be containerized. You're not going to go grab something from Hugging Face and put it in without putting it in.
They've got a bit of a black eye lately. But
I mean, you're going to want to containerize that workload and you're going to want to put it into an orchestration layer that's trusted. So I think the buzz for this room is that's just yet another workload explosion. You're not going to put that on bare metal.
No.
Maybe you're not going to put it in a virtual machine. You're going to put it in a container. It's a cloud native workload.
You might run the container kube on a bare metal platform.
But Kubernetes is going to be part of that AI.
Oh, no doubt. Absolutely.
I don't see many cloud native workloads that are going to go out that aren't going to be in a container.
Don't tell the guy at Broadcom that.
But as you say, where that Kubernetes stack fits,
Could be on a VM
and the guy at Broadcom's also got Tanzu who are here.
for now. For now.
I'm pro that acquisition.
I'm very pro the acquisition because I think I don't know what it was about VMware, but they couldn't stay single. You know, they needed a big brother kind of thing. But
I think a newer, streamlined Broadcom/VMware is going to be good for the industry.
oh, absolutely.
Get those guys back to innovation, get them back to doing R&D, simplify the product,
Slowed down.
simplify the, I mean, they had 120,000 SKUs.
Could you imagine?
120,000. There's no way you need 120,000 SKUs. The price book must have been this big.
Who the hell
But
would
now
know?
they're simplified VCF,
No, that is-
Tanzu.
yeah.
It's really simple for channel partners to understand. There's some bumps in the road.
There will be, but there always is. You got to break a few eggs to make
what
the omelet.
Hawk does a really good job of, they've had a bit choppy 3 months.
Yeah.
It's execution time. And there's probably nobody better in the industry than Hawk
Than
at
doing that.
execution.
Absolutely. Let me tell you another term that I've been starting to hear around here a lot in the last 2 days that I used to hear and then I stopped hearing about it. Infrastructure as code. With AI, right? So generative infrastructure is code. Automated infrastructure is code. Put an adjective in front of infrastructure as code.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the abstraction. People don't want to be devs don't want to be dealing with infrastructure. They don't want to be anywhere near that. They want to promote their code and be done. If they can do that with an OpenStack layer, with an interface where they can do it with infrastructure as code, where they can abstract the complexity of Kubernetes, they're looking to do all of those things. They just do not want that complexity.
Yeah, and I think that's it. But again, I think that's another place where AI can help, right?
I don't know whether at an infrastructure level, certainly from an observability point of view.
Yeah, that
alert,
race
Patsy.
is on already.
Yeah, I mean, I've been briefed by the Dynatrace guys, that,
Yes.
Splunk, OpenTelemetry's here as a project. I think bringing natural language interpretation and a large language
Yes.
model to a huge log monitoring corpus of data, that's huge.
I tell you something, you're going to laugh, but it's also made an opening for traditional IT service management, ITSM.
Yeah.
It's cool almost again.
Well, I mean, ServiceNow, BMC.
We had them here earlier, yeah?
Those guys aren't going away.
No.
You're still going to need trouble tickets. Something's always going to break. You need to improve that workflow. I mean, that's kind of more my space
Right.
than the pure ops side that goes with dev. It's going to break. How are you going to remediate it?
Agreed. The bottom line is, I mean, first of all, it's good job security for people like you and me. But the other thing is,
You just got to adapt.
right, but the laws of physics always apply. There's always a path.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing here, like COVID's really in the rearview mirror. This is a return
back.
to a normal, right? A normalcy. And I'm excited to see what comes out of it.
I think it's going to be fascinating to see KubeCon in North America. Does that transition?
Salt Lake City.
I'll be there.
Me too.
Maybe we do this again. It's been fun, right?
Yes, I don't want to say anything that's going to get us in trouble, but yes, we'll be there. A lot
Yeah.
of people like us will be there. But I heard London next year for Europe.
London, what a city.
I can't wait.
What a city.
I haven't been to London since COVID either.
I was there a few months back.
Were you? Still London.
I lived on the outskirts there for a while.
Did you? Well, you live in the New York area
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
so you're used to it.
New York, London is New York with history.
That was it. Older
That's
buildings.
how I describe
older
it.
pubs.
I'm
Mine too.
craving a fish and chips.
Yeah,
I can feel it.
I was at a restaurant last night that had fish and chips on the menu. Not last night, the night
Not the
before.
same. French don't do
I said
fish
I'm
and
not
chips.
going to order fish and chips in Paris.
Fi-
All right, before we get into a culinary thing, let's end it here. Stephen, futurumgroup.com.
Yes.
You write on there. You're blogging on
You
there.
can find me
your
at
reports are there.
Stephen Dickens 3 on every platform.
Very cool. All right, hey, I think that wraps up our coverage here. Day 2 KubeCon here in Paris. We're here tomorrow at, I guess, around 10 or 10:30 Paris time. So if you're in Europe or Asia, tune in then. If not, you can catch the replay on Techstrong TV. This is Alan Schimmel for Stephen Dickens. We're out.